Imagine if we were all trying to listen via headphones to my computer. My computer only has one jack that comes out of it. What would we do? If my computer had 4 separate headphone jacks coming out of it, we wouldn't have a problem.
Right.
But it only has the one.
Right.
Is there a solution?
So what we need is a device.
Right.
What we need is a device that will take this. You put a cord into the output jack here, and then you put it into this other device that then gives you four channels. And each individual person, make it even better, can make their headphones louder.
I think he
or
lost
softer.
him an output jack. The headphone hole on his computer. He plugs it into the headphone hole. And then it gives you 4 headphone holes with volume.
Now we're talking about
separate volume for 4 headphone holes.
They're trying to dumb this down for you. It's basically like a
No, this is good. This is how you treat a guest.
Think-
This
it's
is
like
good.
a splitter.
Let's think of it as a jack hole.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 26 of From the Middle. We are 3 middle-class guys living in the middle of America, in the middle chapters of our lives, with a point of view that's somewhere in the middle. Thank you for joining us today on NPR. I am one of your co-hosts, Dylan Hubble.
I'm Pete Schweddy.
Kendall Alala.
And this is From the Middle.
Hey, guys.
Hey, what's going on?
So much is going on. We have a special guest in the studio.
Oh, yes?
Yeah.
Who is our special guest today?
Do tell of said guest.
Dear friend of mine.
It's a mystery.
Dear friend of mine. We go back many, many years. Probably 4. His name is Brad Burke. Say hi, Brad.
Hi, everyone.
And the reason we have Brad in studio today is because he just generally aligns with us anyway. Like we even when we started this podcast, we knew he'd be a good guest. He's a dad. He's a guy. He's a geek. He likes games. He likes Star Wars and many other things. But the reason we have him in today is because he and I, on separate work trips, were in Galaxy's Edge together, back-to-back weeks. And so we thought we would do like a review, a critique, a response, if you will, to the glory that is the new Galaxy's Edge in Disney's Hollywood Studios in Orlando, Florida.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
But before we get into all that goodness, and he's brought something to show us as well. but before we get into all that, man,
There's been jokes.
It's quite the build up here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before we get into all that, man, just tell us about yourself for the middlers out there who don't know you.
Absolutely. So I have followed this illustrious podcast from the beginning. I think I was dialed in on episode 0. I think I got a sneak peek on that.
You did get the preview
I got
of the
the
episode
preview,
that will never make airwaves.
So both Ludacris and I were hanging out, listening to everything.
Hey, thanks, Ludacris. By the way, we don't shout out to him often enough.
Yeah.
I know he's actually pretty upset about it.
Go out there, buy all this stuff, help him out.
But I think you kind of encapsulated my life. I'm a dad in my 30s, so middle portion of my life. Line up with basically everything you guys talk about at every given point. Yeah, I mean that's nerd culture's my thing. Also dabble in sports. Dabble. Yeah, it's
Speaking of sports, for our listeners, just imagine Andrew Luck hanging out with us here in the studio, and that'll give you a great idea of what our friend looks like.
yeah.
And Andrew Luck looks a little bit more like a caveman, in my opinion.
Sure.
Like
yeah.
he looks like the guy from the commercials.
If Andrew Luck had actually gone for a real shave and haircut.
Sure, yes.
Yeah.
He looks like Andrew Luck trying to be presentable.
Yes, that's what it is. Couldn't put my finger on it.
There it is.
But yeah, that's it.
I also think the biggest thing I'm lacking is the multi-million-dollar contract. I think there's that. Any ability to play football whatsoever. And speaking skills. I think lacking all 3 of those. But other than that, spot on.
Aren't we all, Brad?
Yes.
Aren't we all?
So what do you do for an occupation?
I have one of the coolest jobs. Not to, I'm going to humble brag for a second.
Hey,
but,
it's all good.
I get to work in sports marketing. So it's work for a pretty big company. Have a lot of opportunity to do some really, really cool things. Stuff that, like you, Kory, definitely a privilege to be able to do. Something I certainly don't take for granted, but have the opportunity to be involved in some pretty big sporting events, some athletes, some celebrities, and that old chestnut.
Brad's a little bit of a world traveler as well, and he gets to hang out with some, like he said, pretty cool celebrities and tell them what to do, and they respond with things like, yes, sir.
It might have been an NFL Hall of Famer, but
we can't say any more than that, unfortunately. But you've got really cool stories, and I think it's exciting. One of which, something that happened on your work travels that you shared with me. You don't think it's a funny story, but I think it's, for those that have followed this podcast from the beginning, I think it's worth sharing with them.
Yeah, sure. So it was shortly after, I believe it was shortly after your guys' Pet Peeves episode, which, Kory, you'll spout out the episode number as you do so well.
14.
Sure.
Yeah, 14.
Sure. There you go. And
It's probably not 14.
hey, opportunity for fact check and for Kory to sing later. So that'll work out well. Yes. Yeah, but so I was in the airport going to California. Not necessarily relevant, but might paint the picture for individuals in the Midwest that there's a little bit difference in culture. But we were ready to board, and they were kind of going through the normal process of first class and anybody who needed additional assistance. And then it was people with families with kids, and so lady with 3 kids flying by herself, you're kind of like, oh yeah, absolutely, she should totally go. The normal folks going through there, and then this lady frantically runs up, carrying a small bag, probably 2 feet by 2 feet by 2 feet. And why I gave you the dimensions, I don't know, but trying to paint the portrait here. So
it's all good.
Using my hands, but that's not working on a podcast. So. But anyhow, so she runs up to and I can't really hear what she's saying, but I can see what's taking place, and she's yelling with the gate agent, just kind of insisting that she be let on. And I see her hold up her bag, and the look on the gate agent's face is, you've got to be absolutely kidding me. So I take a couple steps forward, as any individual that really wants to know what's going on is doing. And she is insisting that she be allowed to be let on because her fur baby entitles her to be a mom. And yes. And so the gate agent is absolutely just out of sorts, doesn't know how to. I know how he wants to respond.
Sure.
But
and she referred to the animal as such to the gate agent.
Yes.
He told me that. I was like, dude, you got to call in and say that.
Yeah. It was shocking. And there was an older man next to me with his wife who, this guy lost his mind off of seeing that and proceeded to yell out, if it didn't come out of your womb, it's not a baby. So there was actually several people that clapped. So I feel like it's a
Science alert.
Science alert. So our society there might be some hope.
Oh, man.
But it was very timely.
I think I got angry when you told me that story, like visibly angry and upset that. Anyway, that was episodes 15 and 16, if you're curious. We talked about our pet peeves and things about the world that just generally annoy us. So if you want to go back and have a good listen, sit by the fire, make yourself a beverage,
hot cocoa,
and listen to us talk about things that annoy us. It's a good couple episodes and sparked a lot of response from our friends.
I was going to say that probably took up a good 3-4 episodes once we got through all of the comments. And
I'm still pretty sure Dylan didn't go through his list, right?
No, I just keep piling on.
Yeah.
So do we have any other updates before we get into the meat of sort of talking about Galaxy's Edge? And
so my wife did something extraordinary. This isn't a funny story, but it is like a holy crap story. my daughter, we have 3 kids, and they're 4 and 5 years old, and my daughter was sick, and so all 3 of them were signed up to go to a tumbling class. In the evening, she couldn't go, and so instead of making her kind of sit at home, I kind of like took her out. We drove around, did some stuff. We were gonna do dinner and and things. And then Amy, my wife, took the other 2 boys after they were done with their tumbling class. They went to dinner, just them, and we pulled up and we were sitting. They were already at where they were going for dinner, while my daughter and I were just pulled up in the parking lot. And I look at my phone, and my wife sent me a text message that said, "I just resuscitated a guy via CPR in the restaurant."
What?
Whoa.
Yes. And so I'm like, are you okay? Like it's like I didn't know, like if that were me, like my nerves would have been through the roof. And so like my daughter and I, like we nixed our plans and we went and met them where they were. And when I got there, like the guy he recovered via my wife's CPR, and and they were carting him out as we were going in, and it was
Go, Amy.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
no,
so
talk
cool.
about like, man, I don't need to look for reasons to brag about my wife, but like that, I don't know anybody who's done that. So good job.
Wow.
Good job, Amy. Yeah, like guy at the table
Very,
next to
very
them,
cool.
like they got him on the floor. Like it was a big group of people. They were talking, and she said she could hear people like eventually start causing a scene because they're asking this guy if he's okay, and he's not responding. And he's just like ashed over, and so they get him on the floor, and they start. None of them knew CPR, but they were trying, and they were doing it wrong. And so like Amy just stepped in and just said, "Let me do this," and she did it, and he came to, and yeah. Like,
Wow.
It's amazing.
minutes later, the squad shows up, and the rest is history. I hope the guy's okay now. He was fine. Like, he was up and alert and normal by the time I got there. Like, nothing had happened. Yeah.
Man. Way to go, Amy.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Saving lives.
Yes.
It's incredible. I often think, like, I wonder how I would actually respond in a situation like that.
I know.
You have in your head how you think you'll respond.
Right.
And then there's like it actually plays out. I remember one night, Sherry and I were driving home. We just exited off of I-71, and we're headed into our town. And this is a 2-lane road at night in the country. Mm-hmm. The car in front of us is passing a semi. In the left lane, oncoming traffic is another semi. And I know that the minute this car starts to go around that they don't have enough room.
Yeah.
They're not going to make it.
Yeah.
And I told Sherry we're about to witness an accident because this car was headed directly for a semi.
Yeah.
The semi gets over in a ditch, like probably a 45-degree angle ditch, to allow this person to sneak through. Both semis are honking. And I'm like, I was going through my head like, I have a belt on, I could make a tourniquet, I could like, I was already thinking, because I was this person's gonna get crushed. But you often think of like, how would I actually respond in a moment like that? So, Amy, you did it. You did the thing that we all hoped that we would do. #saving lives. How do you think you'd respond in like a crisis situation like that?
The first word that comes to mind is poorly.
If by that you mean you'd be asking for another basket of chips.
I don't know. I really don't. I'd like to think that I would be the person that could be calm and collected and help, I've not really had anything super close to that. I know
Right.
in our current home, my wife and I got home late one night with our daughter, and the neighbors had a guest, and it was dark and it was cold. It was this past winter. And we were getting out of the car, and I heard somebody sort of crying a bit for help. the neighbors were sitting out with the guest who had fallen forward on their front porch, and her head was caught between the metal bars, the gate down the steps.
Wow. Jeez.
So just enough weight to force through, but didn't want to get up. She was elderly, kind of stuck. It's cold. And so I ran over and couldn't really do anything, but trying to just talk to her. How are you doing? Can you see? Do you think you're bleeding? Do you think, just trying to talk to her until the squad car showed up or whatever. But it was weird. I didn't really do anything though. So it's like, I don't know. There was no real pressure on me other than just to go and check and make sure they were okay. And, I asked they hadn't brought any blankets out or anything. So I said, you might want to run in and grab some blankets and throw it on her at least, but don't move her is the first thing that you always hear.
Right.
Because you never know. So that's the closest I've been. I did okay, but I don't know. In a huge, serious thing, I'm not sure. I don't know, probably poorly.
Brad, have you ever been in a...
Yeah, I'm trying to think through. I mean, there have been many moments, nothing like, I stepped in on a bank robbery and single-handedly tackled every individual. That'd be awesome. But it was thinking about, I witnessed a car accident that happened right in front of me on 270 coming from Dublin back home. And it was rainy, happened right in front of me. Somebody hydroplaned, went right in front of me, clipped somebody else, and they went into the wall. And I instinctually just pulled over, ran out of my car to make sure everybody was okay, dialed 911, and I was in a different state of mind. It was really, really weird. Like, it was just, I have to assess and deal with the situation, and there was zero emotional anything involved with it.
Like that adrenaline, testosterone thing they talk about. You're just doing,
just doing it, and it's not like, I'll be the first. I have no training on anything whatsoever, and nobody was seriously injured, shaken up. One girl's head busted a window, and so she had a little bit of blood, but nothing major, and waited around until the squad came and police came and all that stuff. And I had it was really cold out at the time, and I had let a couple individuals sit in my car just to kind of keep warm.
Yeah.
And my luck out of all of it is my battery died. So I'm waiting around and go to leave, and my car won't start. And so that was interesting. So somebody ended up, one of the individuals involved with the accident ended up coming back with like their significant other and was like, "Why are you still here?" I was like, "Well, my car died." Wow. And they're like, "Oh, that stinks.
Sucks to be you. Bye."
Yep, that's exactly what happened. But such is life. And I've had some instances with my kids where some things have happened. And my oldest, when she was younger, slipped and fell and busted open her chin, and it was gushing blood. And my wife was, absolutely freaking out hysterically. And I was like, "Okay, all right, hey, get me this, and some butterfly strips." And I butterfly stripped it, and probably should have taken her to the hospital to get some stitches. But with all my years of medical training, no, not at all whatsoever. She barely has a scar, which is amazing. So,
well, we have a From the Middle group text, and Kendall told us that he had an interesting story, and I'm surprised you were able to keep that bottled up inside. It was truly amazing.
Yeah,
you have to be so proud.
I am quite proud.
And know that if you ever pass out at a restaurant, that she'll be able to save you.
As long as I'm with my wife, I'll be okay.
And Dylan will be over there going, "I'll have a diet, whatever."
Just trying to make it easier on the server.
That's awesome.
Not all heroes wear capes.
That's right. Very true. Well, we have an interesting update. We have a sponsor! Hey! Super excited about our friends over at Backroom Coffee Roasters have agreed to sponsor our podcast, and we are really excited about it. So I just wanted to tell you guys a little bit about them and know how you can support them and support us by proxy. So as you know, we're middle-class guys in middle America with opinions that fall somewhere in the middle, but some things we just hold in higher esteem, especially when it comes to our coffee. Here at From the Middle, our coffee is generously provided by Backroom Coffee Roasters. A local small batch roaster, Backroom is run by people who love to tinker, whether it's perfecting their next bean, working on their bikes, or dabbling in the woodshed. We like them because Backroom Coffee Roasters is a middle America company run by some middle-class guys who just happen to make some first-class coffee. Visit backroomcoffeeroasters.com to learn more and to order a couple bags for yourself. So here's where this gets cool for you listeners. If you're ordering 6 bags or more, use promo code MIDDLER, MIDDLER, for 10% off your order. If you're ordering 3 to 5 bags, use promo code BACKROOM3, that's BACKROOM3, for free shipping. And if you're ordering 2 bags or less for some dumb reason, use promo code MIDDLER and receive a free vinyl Backroom Coffee Roasters decal sticker. So thank you to our friends at Backroom Coffee Roasters. We are really excited about the partnership. Kendall, as we've mentioned in previous episodes, is a bit of a coffee snob. And so before we went into this partnership, we wanted to sample some of their goods, some of their fare. And I know you ordered some of their other flavors. Which roast did you like?
They have sort of a house blend called the goat blend, which I like. It's a lighter roast. And I'll say this for any other coffee snobs that might be out there. I don't like that term because, like I said, it's not like I don't drink other things.
Right.
But when I make my own, I'm very specific. And the biggest thing that I'm specific about is when coffee was roasted. For the most part, you go to a grocery store, you buy anything. You walk into a coffee shop, including Starbucks, and buy anything from them.
Right.
It was roasted 18 months ago, and it's now stale.
Right.
And that's what most people are used to until you try something that's been freshly roasted. And those are few and far between. They're difficult to come by. It's exciting that we have a local place that's roasting right here, and they sell it freshly roasted. Instead of having an expiration date, which means nothing in the coffee world, they have a roasted on date.
Yep.
On their packaging, and you buy it, and it's been freshly roasted, and there's a flavor difference that if you've never had freshly roasted coffee, you won't even recognize it because it's that much different and better. Coffee's a fruit, and fresh roasted coffee tastes like it came from a fruit.
Yeah.
So
that means a lot coming from you because, my palate is probably not as evolved as yours is as it relates to coffee. I'll find a different term to call you. I won't call you a coffee snob anymore because we know you'll drink anything. But I know the guys over there, these guys really, really seriously, they are quality first-class individuals. Attention to detail, they pride themselves in that. And so you can't go wrong ordering from Backroom Coffee Roasters. That's backroomcoffeeroasters.com. Thank you for the partnership. We're super excited.
What are the promo codes? You said there was one for 6. This episode is dropping in mid-November, so everyone's got Christmas shopping to do.
Yes.
So buy a bag for all your loved ones and throw it in their stocking. What's the promo code for 6?
That promo code for 6 or more, which is what all of you should do, is Middler, and that will get you 10% off your total order. That's the most bang for your buck when you're ordering 6 or more.
Yeah, that's a good deal, especially around the holidays to load up family and friends with fresh coffee. So very cool. Thanks, Backroom.
Speaking of decals and stickers, we have ordered a short run of some very cool high-quality stickers of our From the Middle logo featuring our big old dumb heads. And stay tuned to our social media for details on how to get yours. It's a very short run. We didn't do a lot. We've got them here in the studio. I already put one on my toolbox. And these are, if you're a sticker guy like me, these are like 2 to 2.5 times the thickness of regular decals and stickers. 5 inches wide, 2.5 inches tall, full colored vinyl, high quality decals and stickers. And we are going to let you guys know how to get those. Also, we think it would be fun on social media to take a picture of whatever you put it on, your Yeti mug or your laptop at work or your toolbox or whatever. Use the hashtag @FromTheMidPod and just share with us where you're putting your sticker and show the world around you which podcast you've sworn your allegiance to.
I look good in sticker form. I have to say, I wasn't expecting this level of detail, and I'm happy about it.
Yeah. Thank you to our friends at Guru Graphics. We will give you a shout out. We appreciate you for doing that for us. They're really, really nice, and I'm excited about it. So we only have a short run. You'll want to be sure to get yours. And again, let your friends know the best podcast and the best podcast on the face of planet Earth. Okay.
Fact.
And we can fact check that later.
Boom.
Already
roasted.
So
coffee.
Was it good? Good. I'm feeling good about it in my soul.
Feel good.
And in my bones
Yeah,
and
it feels
spirit
real good.
and soul and spirit. We wanted to talk about Galaxy's Edge. So I'm not sure how familiar our friends are about what Galaxy's Edge is, but both Brad and I got to go 2 separate work trips, 2 separate companies, and we just back to back happened to be in Orlando, and our families joined us so that we could go to Hollywood Studios and check out this whole new area of the theme park that is completely Star Wars themed. If you know Star Wars at all, there's been so much hype around this and so much social media traction about the opening of this park. There was already one in Walt Disney in Disneyland, and that's been there for a little bit longer. But the one in Walt Disney World just opened up fairly recently. And so I thought it would be cool to just talk about our experiences having gone. You went first.
Yeah.
You went the week before I did.
Yep.
And you also did a few things that I didn't do, which I very much regret and will do when I go back. So just talk about sort of like what it was like why you wanted to go, first of all, why you wanted to take your family there.
Yeah.
And then sort of that feeling when you walk through that tunnel at that one end of the park.
Yeah.
And just give your, as in detail as you want, just talk about the experience.
Sure, absolutely. So it was, I think all of us and probably most of your listeners, we all wanted to go as soon as we saw that. I think, it was a year and a half ago they started talking about it. And all of us were like, oh, that's the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah.
And as more details started coming out, my geek factor went through the roof. And actually what I kind of noticed was like this little side of me that rarely comes out is like I was like 11 years old again in my excitement level of Star Wars. And that's the beauty of Star Wars, and is it brings out the kid in all of us, and we get captivated by all of it, and the opportunity to be fully immersed in that was a no-brainer. So our family, so I've 4 kids, I have 4 daughters.
God bless you.
I'll take sympathy any way I can get it. Also, might share my Venmo if anybody wants to contribute towards prom dresses,
weddings,
marriages, anything. Right? No, kidding. But so we had never been to Disney. Just ages, or kids were too little and things like that. So it was like a sweet spot in ages this year where my wife and I felt like everybody could really fully enjoy the opportunity, and it wouldn't have been burdensome to one of us have to carry my kids all the way around the parks, whining and screaming and what have you. So it was kind of a convergence of good timing from when I had to be down there for work. So my oldest just turned 13, which is terrifying. And she's an awesome kid, totally into Star Wars, totally into Harry Potter and things like that. So as part of her birthday gift, I was going to take her down there. I had a bunch of frequent flyer miles and hotel points and this, that, and the other. And we were going to take her down there. And so long and short of it, we decided to take everybody down and planned out where the first day we were going to go to Magic Kingdom, and the second day was Disney Hollywood Studios, which is where Galaxy's Edge is. And so for those of you that haven't done the Disney experience before, it is an exercise in patience for other humans, because everybody is like about themselves and their kid and Instagram pictures and
it's such an interesting thing, because like Disney is one of those things where if you have kids, it's almost like you have to do it.
Yeah. For
and
sure.
Then it's this dance of like, what's the right age? Because I'm not going to spend all this money for them not to remember it. But I also don't want to wait too long and they're like over it.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
And then it is even as a 35-year-old guy, I'm into art and I'm into storytelling and I'm into movies and stuff like that. So I get that it could be more me, but even at 35 years old, you do suspend reality and you get caught up in the magic that is Disney. It very much is a palpable sort of thing when you're there. At the same exact time, there are like couples that are 10 steps through the gates and they're like, Helen, grab the stroller. You said you would take this. No, Henry, where's Stacy? She ran over there. Like, they're already yelling, already stressed. It's just this...
It's the biggest nightmare on the magical
cacophony
place on Earth,
of it. So it's so weird, this juxtaposition of like magic and beauty and fun and making memories in the picture of Cinderella's castle, and also parents just yelling at each other and kids crying.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so weird that those things are right beside each other.
Absolutely. And I saw it on full display at Magic Kingdom.
Yeah.
And I was patient the whole day. And we had, a double wide stroller, which is literally like driving around on a Zamboni through all of Magic Kingdom. And sorry, and do the typical Midwest thing. Sorry. Sorry.
Excuse me.
And everybody's looking at me like, why are you apologizing? And they just keep on keeping on. So by the end of that day, I was ready to lose my mind, but everything was focused on the following day, which was going to be Galaxy's Edge. So I was desperately trying not to make that about me. And I'm like, but I wanted it to be about me. And so my oldest daughter was super excited about it. If it were up to her, she would have rode the Tower of Terror and spent all of her time in Galaxy's Edge. That is a sign that I'm raising my child correctly.
Well done, sir.
Absolutely.
Well done.
Absolutely. But so we went there, and it was character experiences and riding as many rides as we can and doing the whole Fast Pass thing and all that stuff. Into my mind, I'm like, waiting for Frozen to be over. All I want to do is go to Galaxy's Edge, and it was amazing. So finally, I got to the point where I was like, okay, we're going, and I'm forcing everybody to go. And forcing in air quotes there. And so finally we took everybody through, and I literally am like 10 years old again. I am 10 years old. I am absolutely excited to get into this thing.
Sorry to cut you off.
No, please
describe how that tunnel, so the rest of Hollywood Studios sort of comes to a natural sort of end, or this funnel point.
Yep.
And then there's this really wide tunnel that you walk through to sort of almost transition you mentally in what you're seeing scenery-wise to enter what they call Black Spire Outpost, which is supposed to be just an outpost in the galaxy on the planet of Batu. And so just start from the tunnel.
Yep, absolutely. So we actually came in the other direction. So you want me to start in the tunnel?
Okay, well,
we came into. However,
it's kind of applies to the other side.
It's absolutely the same thing. So they do a phenomenal job of fully immersing you as soon as you get in there. So to your point, it is a stop of everything else that I didn't care about, and it is going into the thing that I've always wanted to be a part of. And you walk through these huge tunnels that look like they've been carved out by some machine. If you think about in Empire Strikes Back, how in Hoth, in the little corridors that they had there, you could almost see like they were etched out, like something had carved them out. That's what it looked like walking through the rock. And so you go through there, and then the music starts to change, and you're like, oh, it's that familiar. I know this score. This is a John Williams score. This is, oh my gosh. And I literally lit up. I walked through there and I was almost emotional being a part of that. Took 3 steps in and I'm like, oh, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. Now, for anybody that knows me, I err more on the side of Dylan than I do Kory. I'm slightly robotic. So you too, Dylan, could become a human if you visit Galaxy's Edge. No.
Look, magic doesn't exist in the world except 2 places. Disney and magic erasers. Those are the only things that are magical in the world. And so I can only imagine that I would choke up a little bit.
I thought you were going to say Taco Bell.
No, I mean, that's close.
That's just delicious. We can
it's
all
just delicious.
That, right?
Yeah, magic erasers legitimately somehow are made of magic.
So
have you gotten emotional using a magic eraser?
I didn't say it made me emotional. I said it's magic.
Yeah.
It's made by wizards.
Yeah.
Wizards make magic erasers. And some other company packages and sells them. I don't know. But anyways.
They're just a sponge filled with abrasive.
No, it's sorcery and black magic. How dare
there's some kind of magic in them. I just need everybody to know that.
Yeah. So yeah, no, absolutely. So we walked in there and it is you are stepping through like a portal into the Star Wars universe and every little detail. And I love the amount of thought that Disney puts into every aspect. You don't see an outlet. You don't see, any wires or any conduits or anything that shouldn't be there. It's all appropriately hidden. So when you feel there, you walk in there, you feel like you are in that world and not, oh, I'm at Disney in Orlando and it's steamy and gross. No, absolutely not. So as we walked through, I was almost kind of running a little bit. Now, like in my mind, I'm like, I just want to ditch my family and sprint forward, but I love my family. I wouldn't do that. But that's what I wanted to do because I just wanted to, you remember when you were a kid and like your parents would take you to Toys R Us and like, all right, like we can get one toy. And you're like, oh my gosh, it's the most amazing. And you're looking at everything. What about this? Oh no, wait, there's this, everything. You throw it on the ground and you just kind of keep going. That's how I felt inside. That, and I, to be totally, I have not felt that in, I'm 37 years old, so maybe when I was 11, so math, and that's how long. But it was, and I hate to use that term, but magical, right? Yeah. Like, I mean, it truly, genuinely was. And so we walked through, and and my wife has since said, I have never seen you like that. I mean, I heard her talking to friends on the phone the other day. I've just never seen him that excited about everything. He was just lit up from ear to ear on everything. And I felt it, and it was fantastic. And so as we're walking through, I'm like, oh, there's these droids. Look at these little props. And they have so much detail around that you could just walk by. Like if you were on your phone, you were going to miss out. So pro tip, put your phone away and look at the detail that they put there for you. There's these cages with parts of droids that you're like, oh, I saw that in episode 1, and the Roger guys, right? Mm-hmm. Like you see those, you see the like, oh, there's little R2 droids, and there's, I mean, just all the things there that if you're a true fan of Star Wars, you will soak in and you love every aspect of it. And then there's the little details of like there's stormtroopers walking around. Yeah. And Kory, you had a better experience with that than I did.
Yeah, so
in terms of the stormtroopers.
I'll piggyback off of the detail really quickly first. So you don't realize this, but when you make anything, it's going to look new because you just made a thing. So what the term for whether it's set building or props or our dad who did like World War II dioramas is you have to weather it, meaning you have to make it look like it has survived through countless years and seasons of weathering, water and snow and rain and ice and chips on the edge, and which would expose the metal underneath. Like the weathering of things, it feels like, I mean, this phrase gets overused when talking about Star Wars, but it's lived in, right? It's a lived in world. That's what J.J. Abrams did so well. That the prequel trilogies are criticized for because it was a lot of green screen. We're not going to get into a prequel, original trilogy debate, but there's something about this textured, weathered, rust, exposed metal.
There's pocks in the wall from like
where blasters have hit, and
so well thought out.
If something, if like where those little pocks are from where stuff hit the walls, like there's a little bit of like singe and black around it, and it's just weathered so. It looks so real and feels so genuine and authentic when you're walking through there that I don't think people even think about the fact that they go, oh, even when you're standing in line. Yeah. Like it's like safety yellow, like it's painted safety yellow, right? But it's like weathered and rusted and cracked a little. It's just so every flag is torn and there's a little bit of, like one part of it was burnt, and flags that are just slowly just moving in the wind and on the sides of buildings and stuff. So the thing that I loved was that in one corner of Galaxy's Edge is Kylo Ren's shuttle. And you don't really realize this, but it's on an elevated platform. And all of a sudden you hear this loud noise, and then you see like a First Order officer followed by like 4 stormtroopers, and they're making their way to Kylo Ren's shuttle. And then like fog comes and Kylo Ren comes down, and now you're entered in the story. Yeah. And they say that a rebel has been spotted on this planet, and that everybody needs to stop what they're doing. They're going to investigate. And so without even realizing it, you're now in the story.
Yeah.
And if you think about all the scenes in film where there was just a chase through a marketplace, and people were just shopping and were caught unawares by the action. You see those people in movies, and they're just like, what? What's going on? As the heroes pass by them or bump them on the shoulder. You're now that person in the marketplace of Galaxy's Edge, of Black Spire Outpost, and now someone is, these guys are looking for this person. And then that scene kind of plays itself out, and everybody sort of fizzles away, and then nothing else happens. Well, 10 minutes later, Rey starts walking by the aisle, and she's looking over her shoulder, and she starts running. And she hides behind where they're selling the thermal detonators, which are actually Coca-Cola, Diet Coke, and Sprite.
Right.
But they're disguised to look like little explosive devices.
Yeah.
And she hides behind that cart because the First Order officer and the stormtroopers are walking by. But that happened 10 minutes after the first thing happened.
Yeah.
So all of this stuff is playing itself out live, real time around you, and you might catch it, you might not catch it.
Yeah.
You might see it happen, you might not be in the right place at the right time. There's no like official stage of now showing at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and 5:15. It's all happening organically and live around you, and the music, and it feels real, and then Rey walks by. I mean, it's just like you're in the freaking movie.
Yeah.
And it's so fun. Anyway.
No, that's absolutely
super cool.
Yeah. You can trash talk the stormtroopers and they mouth off back to you,
Yeah.
and it's the greatest thing in the world.
Somehow, and I don't know how they do this. If anybody has the inside scoop on how they do this, all of the voices of all the stormtroopers are the same. So it's not somebody inside the helmet. Actually, I'm pretty sure we've spotted it before, and when we went to Hollywood Studios a couple years ago. But they have a little joystick in their palm. And it's almost like up, left will yield a different response than down, right, or up, down. But all the voices sound the same. So it's that iconic stormtrooper sound.
Right.
Because if Steve sounds different than Bill when he's in the costume, it's not going to work, right, from a brand perspective. So there's a way, but they do it live. So if a person is taking a picture of a stormtrooper, they're going, what are you doing with that data pad? Like...
Nothing to see here. Move along.
Nothing to see here. Move along. Right?
Does it sound like they're saying like relatively canned things that could be off a list, or
yes and no? Because I heard "What are you doing with that data pad?" I heard that 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
But there's enough custom responses with however they do it to not make you realize it so obviously, if that makes sense. Like there's enough canned responses that it doesn't feel boring.
Right, no.
But like a lot of move along or step aside or what are you doing over here, citizen, kind of stuff. It's just so cool.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah.
There was some right behind me at one point. That thing's happening where, sorry, I'm clearing my throat a lot. Brad pointed that out that we do that a lot. Sorry. I was walking through the tunnel and there were stormtroopers over my shoulder and I'm like, they're right behind me. And I was just taking selfies of them following me. And I'm like, I just want to be arrested. I want to be arrested.
Yeah.
Because if they arrest you, I think they take you to Kylo Ren. In the other park, they would take you to like the regular stormtroopers, the original trilogy stormtroopers would take you to Darth Vader. So you'd like get arrested and taken and questioned and da-da-da. It's just, I don't know. It's so immersive, and immersion is something we've talked about a lot. So people are probably sick of hearing it. But just the storytelling and the quality and how good of a job Disney does at making you feel like you're really a part of that world is pretty cool.
Yeah, and I mean, little things like they sell the blue milk, right? Like, so if you go back and you look at the very first Star Wars out there, Episode 4, Luke's drinking blue milk. And so, of course, I bought it, and it tastes weird. It's not actual milk. It's like a rice concoction, whatever, but it's very, very fruity. But, of course, I had to. And so I think the other thing, if anybody's planning on going there, you will throw all of your money at them willingly because of all of these experiences. I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal. And my wife just kept looking at me like, he's opening the wallet again. He's opening the wallet again. Which I'm like, absolutely I am. But I mean, it was part of the experience. And to me, in our decision-making process, it was like, I am absolutely willing to spend money on this because this is what I've wanted since I was, a little kid. And it was absolute satisfaction.
Speaking of throwing money, it's a perfect time to share with us your souvenir. And while you're doing that, I will just share, when you see the Millennium Falcon in the corner of Black Spire Outpost, it's sort of tucked back in the very back part. So there's 2 main ways to access it. I came around the corner, and I kid you not, I got really lumpy throated. We got our hotel we were staying at gave us extra magic hours or extra park hours, so we got in a few hours earlier than when the regular doors open. Now it was from 6 to 9 a.m., so we showed up. It was still dark, but to see it sitting there and like little tufts of like steam and exhaust coming out of the ports in different places, and seeing all the hoses connected to it, I got emotional coming around the corner and seeing it because it's like full size. This thing that you've seen as a kid, and you're just, it's right there. And then to ride the ride is phenomenal. And while you're getting ready what you're going to share with us, some of what we didn't talk about are the cast members that aren't stormtroopers and that aren't first order officers. They all look like they're a part of the world too. So they're in Star Wars costume, and I had my Ohio State stormtrooper shirt on, and one of the girls goes, I feel like in another life I've been to that place or am from that place.
That's awesome.
And she was like, I went to Ohio State is what she said.
Yeah.
So some of the cast members said that the new ride that's coming out, it's called Rise of the Resistance, that it opens on December 5th, which is Walt Disney's birthday. Fun fact. So everybody, even the cast members, don't know what it is. It's all very top secret. It's very under wraps. The only thing that Disney's really saying, and of course you're going to, critics will say it just sounds like a plug, a convenient plug, but it's the most technologically advanced ride experience that the Disney Imagineers have ever come up with. One person said it's going to be a 15-minute ride experience.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
So it's going to be part cinematic, part walkthrough, so walk from place to place,
right,
and then part like actual ride. But it's going to be this multi-layered ride experience. That again, they said it's the most advanced thing that they've ever attempted.
Take my money.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So anyway, go ahead. Show us what you and describe the experience too.
Yeah. So let's see if you guys can hear this. I don't know if you can hear it, but
I heard nothing.
Yeah,
do it again. Turn it off.
All right. Nice. So what you hear? So my kids dropped it the other day. So what it is, if you guys didn't hear that, is there is an experience where you can build your own lightsaber, and it's called Savi's Workshop, and it's a pretty immersive experience in what you can do. So you start out. And you select between 4 different classes, so to speak, of lightsaber. Yeah, please play with that. It's a giant toy. That's what it's for.
It's heavy.
It is heavy. Yeah. So that's a valid point. So you start out and you select prior to going in one of 4 design types that you would like to build out. And
those design types are like, one is more the classic pieces, like, so there's probably, I don't know how many, 8 pieces on that.
1, 2, 3, yeah, probably 8.
So there's one that is like what I'll call the classic lightsaber hilt pieces. There's one that looks more like the Knights of the Old Republic.
Yep,
so it's
absolutely.
more like classic.
It's more gold and silver kind of.
Yeah.
For any of those Lord of the Rings fans.
What's the
out there.
natural one, like the one with pieces?
Elemental. It's called Elemental.
Yeah, so it's like pieces of bone and
leather and more, kind of organic biomaterial. And then the last one would be the Sith-based one, which is, I think it's called Power and Strength. And it is also very, very cool.
Yeah.
So you pick out kind of your category, and then they bring you in, and they have you kind of sit around this giant workstation. And again, you want to talk about the level of detail. I highly recommend Googling the Galaxy's Edge lightsaber. That's all you need to do. And
there's a lot of YouTube videos on this where you can see people doing it.
Yeah,
Yep.
I want to do it.
Absolutely. And so you get through there, and it's very story driven. I don't want to ruin too much of it, only because I watched a ton of videos. I made Kory watch a ton of videos of it too. But like, it didn't, for me personally, it didn't hinder my experience knowing what it was going to be like, because I wanted to do that.
Right.
But I don't want to ruin it for anybody else. But it's pretty story driven. They have you pick out a kyber crystal, so you pick out your color. And then they come around and they, based on the category, the design type, they hand you a tray with a bunch of different options. They kind of tell you how you need to build the whole thing. You insert your kyber crystal first. You build, build out your hilt, and it's solid metal. I mean, all of you guys like just held this thing. It's not. I mean, it has some weight to it. It's probably a 2-pound hilt. Mm-hmm. And it's got some weight to it. So you build that whole thing, and they check it, and then they put it in this little, I don't know, thing. That's a great descriptor.
Thing,
yeah.
I'm tracking.
We all know what we're talking about. Yeah. And then they come around and flip the switch, and through the little thing tube. Thank you. You can see your color so it's on, and you can see your color for whatever kyber crystal you picked out, and then it opens up, the tube opens up, and then you pull out your lightsaber, and there's this crescendo of music, this kind of thing going on, and you're like, oh my gosh. And I literally was tearing up at the thought, because for me, going back to like when I was, a little kid, and how many times did you pick up a stick and go into the woods, and this is my lightsaber, and I'm Luke Skywalker, and I'm, act all this stuff out, and I have it in my hand, and I know, it's plastic and it's metal and whatever, but again, this evoked this little kid emotion in me that I was like, oh my gosh. And the coolest part of it is, as birthday present for my oldest daughter, she got to do it with me.
Yeah.
And so she built out her own. She built one of the kind of the old Republic models of it, and it's awesome. Actually, it's really cool.
Very cool.
Very cool.
If you're willing, maybe we can get some pictures of both together to share.
Absolutely.
Share out on social so everyone can take a look.
You said it, and I know, again, not wanting to give it away because it is very story driven, but they pipe in the voices of some iconic characters into this room that you're in.
Absolutely.
The room that you're in, remember, feels like you're in a hidden workshop that only a certain group of people know about. And so when they pipe in the music and they pipe in the voices of these characters from the Star Wars franchise, and up until that point, up until you put your hilt into the tube, you've only been messing with the hilt and putting that together.
Yep.
So it's not been a whole thing until that one moment where everybody's lights up together.
Exactly right.
And the music, it builds.
And every single person in there is 10 years old again.
Yeah.
And guys that are 65 years old that are like weeping because they have seen the entire franchise. They've been invested for so long, and they finally get to see, the realization of being a part of this, this whole experience. So it is.
So that's a separate thing. It's not cheap.
It's $200.
There's a $50 difference between that and the droids.
The droids is $100.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I had the rest of my family there,
right.
I made sure that they could build droids.
Yeah.
So they went to the droid depot and built droids.
Which are very cool, and I got to play with the ones that your daughters built.
Yep.
They're very cool. You can customize the colors, but if you had a choice, definitely save up and do the lightsaber.
Absolutely.
So you can build a BB-8 unit, one of the, it's the sphere with the magnets, and it, rolls just like BB-8, or like a little R2 unit. And again, you get to customize the colors so kids like it because they can make it purple R2D2.
And they're remote controlled, so you're actually using
That's
them.
cool.
It's not just
and they're very fun.
Yeah.
But if you were going to do just one,
I made the right choice. Is what I'm saying. But you can also build little chips that they'll put into the droids. So when you're walking around the park, if it's like a first order chip, if they're around any of the first order things, they'll start beeping. Or if you're around any of the resistance, it'll almost like whistle, like it's trying to let the first order know that you're there.
So they get little personalities, right?
Absolutely. It's really, really immersive. It's a very, very cool experience.
Just a little sidebar plug. You were talking about the Imagineering.
Yeah.
That's Disney's engineers that helps build all these rides. As of when this episode comes out, Disney Plus will be available for streaming. And there is a documentary series on Disney Plus called The Imagineering Story. So if that interests you at all, go in and check that out. I know I'm going to be streaming it as well. It's very exciting. I have no idea what that documentary is supposed to cover, but I know the trailer for that documentary
very good.
is like there's some guy going, this is a place that like nobody ever gets to come see. And sure, they probably just say that for the documentary, but you still can't get but a little excited going, all right, what's back here?
Yeah.
So yeah, just a fun little sidebar plug because those folks probably do a ton of work, and it's all those little details and all those little effects that they'll never get appreciated or they'll never be thanked.
Yeah.
And all those levels of detail that they go through is incredible. And so I think that'll be a cool way for those people to share a little bit of the work that they do, and everyone can just sit back in amazement as they watch that documentary.
Absolutely. So here's just a little example about the work that these guys do to make it feel immersive. And they do it so well that you don't notice it. Mm-hmm. And you've heard that about lots of specialties where if we're doing our jobs well, you don't even know because you're just buying it hook, line, and sinker. Okay, so just a quick story as an example of what the Disney Imagineers do and why I love it so much. Toy Story World, for example, right? So one whole section of the park is like 2 or 3 Toy Story rides. Well, they mess with scale. So when you walk into Toy Story World, you are a toy.
Yeah. Okay.
Everything else is big. So the Green Army Men are your size.
Right.
The glue bottle, the Elmer's glue bottle, is 4 feet taller than you.
Yeah.
The Tinker toys are huge. The playing cards are huge. And people think when they're in line for a ride, they'll say things like, make sure that you're with all the members of your play set. Right. They say things like that. And if you hear that, you just go, they're your play set. But it's like, no.
They keep hitting you with things like that.
Yes, you're down. You are supposed to be down to the size of a toy.
Right.
The barrier of the whole Toy Story land is a picket fence that is the scale of what a picket fence would be if you were the size of a Green Army Man.
Yeah.
And I said that to the kids at the end. They're like, oh, we didn't even notice that. And I'm like, what? They kept beating you over the head with the fact that you were down to the size of a toy to the degree that in the midway where everybody walks are gigantic shoe prints of like a Converse shoe.
Yeah.
But you didn't even like so much of it you just buy. You're just in it without realizing what they're doing. Sound, all your senses, sound and scale and how they use color and light to make you feel like you're a part of this world now. And then when you transition to Star Wars world, in the pavement are the grooves of where like an R2 unit had driven by, or some of the critters. Like there was some footprints in the gravel that were like critters that I don't think it was the dewbacks, the big lizards that the stormtroopers ride on, but there's all this stuff that you're not even realizing what they're doing to make you feel all the things you're feeling when you're there.
Right.
Were you there at night? Did you get to see it at night?
Yeah.
Yeah. So going to scale, what they do with light and the way the tops of the rocks look
the rock
makes
formations.
it look so deep. So you feel like you're in the middle of a canyon somewhere and there's nothing but desert around you kind of feeling while you're there. It's absolutely mind-boggling.
And we didn't even talk about Smuggler's Run yet.
No.
The whole ride, which is right now, it's the only ride in Galaxy's Edge. That is so. I don't know how many cockpits there are. I want to believe that there's just one, and I got to be in it.
That's it.
But
that's all.
But there's probably 12 different Millennium Falcon cockpits. And when your party goes in, there are 2 pilots, 2 gunners, and 2 engineers. So there's 6 seats in the iconic cockpit of the Millennium Falcon where Han Solo and Chewie sit. Right.
Also emotional for me, by the way.
And so you get to choose which of those 3 roles you want to be on this ride.
Right.
And it's not the same ride experience for everybody. Based on how well you do in that role determines the outcome of how well you do in the mission of Smuggler's Run.
Yeah.
So Case and I got to be pilots. Oh, crap, I'm going to get emotional. Dang it. Case and I got to be pilots. And so Case was to my left. I was in the right seat. And there's one part of the mission where you have to pull the hyperdrive lever. And it starts glowing, this big silver hyperdrive lever. And I went, woohoo, just like I was in the movie. And then the whole screen, it's this I don't know how they do this
I have no
360
idea.
screen,
Absolutely have no
but it
idea.
doesn't feel like a screen. It feels like those windows are, and when they do that hyper speed thing where all the stars go,
Right.
I woohoo, and Case is like, yeah, and I'm just like, and then my kids are behind me as engineers and gunners,
Yeah.
and Sherry's like recording the whole experience, but the video doesn't do it justice at all. But I don't know, that whole ride is one of the coolest things I've ever done, and to know that this new ride is going to top that is just like, how in the world? But I don't know. There's probably 12 different cockpits of the.
There's only one
of the Falcon.
I only want there to be one.
But yeah.
That brings up an interesting point because there's been some criticism of both Galaxy's Edge that there's right now in quotes only one ride.
Oh,
Doesn't seem to matter at all.
not at all.
Not to
So
me, not one
immersive.
bit, yeah.
So the fact that there would eventually be a second ride is purely a bonus.
I think it depends on what you're looking to get out of it.
Yeah.
So for me, I loved every ounce of being there, and soaking things in. I think if you're just like, oh, I just want to get on a ride, it's probably.
I don't do parks for rides.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, and I don't know if that's how everybody goes to parks or
yeah.
not.
Some people are
honestly,
very
I'm not
much
sure.
ride people. Like,
Yeah.
this is why I'm here.
That's right. Go to Cedar Point then, right? Like, it's cheaper. But I mean, even standing in line, I was totally fine standing in line because they design every aspect of standing in line to be immersive.
I think I've seen videos. Hondo's in there talking to you, right?
That's exactly right.
For
yeah.
anybody that's a fan of the Star Wars animated series, you'll know Hondo right away. A very animated character, pun intended.
Yep.
He's a quirky guy. He just reminds me of like every Goofy movie voice that you've ever heard from a cartoon character. But yeah, it's really cool.
I will say, so like Brad, my family wanted to do other things, and that's okay. And the day was not about me. But so we were probably only in Black Spire Outpost for probably less than an hour and a half. And I told Brad I could have just posted up on a step and just sat for 2 hours and taken it all in and then moved to a different area.
Yeah.
And they have a restaurant where they serve different alien foods and alien drinks. And there's a bar where it's like adult Star Wars cocktails and stuff like that. So the criticism that there's only one ride in there doesn't hold water to me. There's this one whole alley, I guess, that's like these shops where they have the plushies and the different things you can buy, and that feels like a living Star Wars marketplace.
Yeah.
I could have walked through there for an hour and a half alone.
It was amazing.
So there's plenty to do, even without that new ride being there. I would not let that deter you from if you're thinking about going. There's a whole lot to take in and see and do and feel and eat, and tons and tons of fun.
Yeah, I was going to ask about food because my wife and I have watched some of the videos on YouTube of some of the different food things, and there's some crazy concoctions. I'm blanking on the name right now. I'm trying to find it, but there's the one that's the sort of like the gordita wrap with the sausage and the
It's
slaw.
the bantha wrap.
The bantha wrap was like
Yeah.
probably the one thing everybody kind of raves about how good it is.
It's delicious.
Yeah.
You had it?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was honestly delicious or
It didn't matter.
No, I don't care.
It's
I mean,
made out of Play-Doh. I know.
You were in
Yeah, I
the
don't
universe.
care.
I mean, obviously,
It wasn't delicious. It was immersive.
That's exactly right.
most fans are going to go there and try the blue or the green milk. And past that, everything seems like a bonus.
Absolutely.
I think we had talked about, you already mentioned the sodas that were shaped like the thermal detonators. You know, that became one of the totally unintended keepsakes of Galaxy's Edge because it's so cheap.
That
relative.
nobody could take home.
That previously people couldn't take
Yeah.
home because you couldn't fly with them.
Yeah.
The,
you can
TS,
do
the
that now.
TSA
Yeah.
said they were explosive mock explosive devices, and you couldn't take them home.
Yeah. So you had people going there buying these, in quote, cheap thermal detonator sodas for $4.50 and finding a UPS or FedEx to ship them home because they wanted, it's such a cheap, cool looking souvenir.
Yeah.
And so, any of the other foods that you tried, the bantha wrap was delicious.
Yeah, I think that's. I think that might have been the only one.
That was the only one that looked really, really good to have.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
also it's not cheap. I mean, they know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
You're gonna have a $20 wrap. It's better be made of bantha at that point.
Yeah, I think the sweet and spicy like kettle popcorn was another kind of
Oh,
popular one.
Yep.
That wasn't necessarily the best, but a lot of people wanted to try it. And so there's plenty of YouTube videos. Just search Galaxy's Edge food, and there's a billion videos on people trying all kinds of cool stuff. But
Absolutely.
that to me, it was fun seeing all the things they had crafted for this world outside of the obvious who isn't going to have fun building a droid and a lightsaber.
Absolutely.
Right. But all these kind of cool specialty foods and things as the resident foodie, I always enjoy talking.
Honestly, I mean, the level of detail goes to, like, so my parents were with us, and they're in their mid to late 60s, and so they're like, yeah, Star Wars, yeah. But my dad went into the bathroom and goes, the bathroom even looks like it's supposed to look.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh. So of course I'm like, I have to go to the bathroom now because I had to see. And yeah, I mean, you totally just
the sinks are different. The trash cans are different. Everything is different. There's nothing that doesn't feel like it doesn't belong in the Star Wars universe. Nothing.
That was the one space that I was like, okay, well, it's not going to be in here because they're not. It's a bathroom. Nope.
Even the lights, like even the little light fixtures that line the sort of midway, like the main thoroughfares and stuff. It's all of world. It feels like it belongs in there, and it's very cool. I know I have a friend, Pat, who's considering going. So Pat, shout out to you, man. You got to go. Make it happen, whatever you got to do. So very.
And if you need a guide, I'm willing.
Yeah, there's a couple things my wife and I keep talking about going eventually. Our daughter's too young. It doesn't make sense yet, but I would be all for going to the Harry Potter world. That one's at Universal, right?
Also,
Galaxy's Edge.
I also did that. I just read
I'm excited because Disney has announced you can see some mock-ups of like the Stark Enterprises Adventures world or whatever. And so I'm like, great. I'm just going to wait till the whole Marvel world is built, and then we're going to go and see Star Wars and Marvel and all of that stuff.
Is that the one they're building at Epcot? Or is that the Guardians of the Galaxy? I think they're building a Guardians of the Galaxy.
I think Guardians is its own ride. And I think where Galaxy's Edge hit Disneyland in California first and then came to Disney World, I think the Avengers one is going to be Disney World first.
Oh, that's amazing.
So that'll be something that I'll definitely want to do. So I can visit both parks would be amazing.
And if you've not done Harry Potter World or the Wizarding World of Harry Potter at Universal, that is the same thing, just that universe.
Equally immersive, just Harry Potter.
And I thought, I was always biased toward Disney, and I kind of, Universal's really just about rides. And then we took Lily, our oldest, there for her 10th birthday to do both. There's two separate parks, but the Wizarding World. And when everybody there that's staff is speaking in a British accent and like everything is the same. You can't see one electrical box. You can't see one. It all feels like,
so Brexit was really just all the British people that Universal hired to go work at the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. They just brought a whole plane full of people over to just work there. That makes sense.
And the thing there is, if you haven't done that, is so the kids get to choose their own wand. And there's this whole story, and you walk through, and you get the wand. But then the wand has an infrared tip, and it interacts with things in the Wizarding World. So if you stand on a certain platform, it has a motion that you do, and you do that thing with your wand, and something will happen. Either water falls from the sky, or a thing moves, or a suit of armor falls, or lights turn on. So these kids, 3, 4, 5 years old, with their little wands, are making things happen and come to life in this world around them, and it's pretty
super cool.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I got to do that too. So that was my other, oldest daughter. Just daddy-daughter time on one day, which to me was like, critical. She's 13 years old, and it's like, to me, I'm kind of like, that's probably the last age that she wants to be around me, kind of thing. And especially if I bribe her with Harry Potter World. But we did. They just opened a new ride there, and it's I'm gonna forget the name of it, but it was. Hagrid's magical motorbike ride or something like that. And that is honestly one of my probably top 5 favorite rides. It is unbelievable. So we rode this thing. We waited in line for almost 2 hours, rode this thing, and it is, the whole way, and then it stops. And I don't think it's supposed to be stopping. And then they come over the announcement, and they're like, hey, we're trying to fix, there was a magical pixie that I don't know. They're trying to make a character of the whole thing. We're like, yeah, okay. And where we were at was the darkest part of the ride, and so I decided to sit in the sidecar So I'm 6'1" and sitting in a sidecar that should be made for like somebody that's 4'3". My legs were starting to fall asleep the whole time, and finally they let us. They actually had to evacuate us from the ride. So we had to leave. So, they turn all the lights on and you see the inner workings of everything. And they're like, do not take any pictures. Do not take any video. Wow. Do not anything. And that's the one thing I would say that's different between Disney and Universal. Every single ride in Universal, they tell you, do not take pictures. Do not take a video. Whereas Disney, they're like, please take out your camera. So, but we walked through the whole thing. They give us a little voucher. That basically is the equivalent of a fast pass for one ride. Right. And I'm like, well, we already had fast pass for everything, so this is a waste.
Right.
So we're getting ready to leave. We go back. It's still closed off. I'm like, let me just ask. So I happen to ask this guy, and I was like, look, it was for her birthday. We were actually on the ride. They gave us this card, and he's like, oh, okay, hold on one second. And he looks over, talks to somebody, and he goes, yeah, come with me. So he takes us up the employee path to get into this thing, the whole back route path of this thing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they're going to let us on here. And I was like, we have a backpack. Can we put the backpack somewhere? And he's like, oh, you can use one of the emergency lockers. I'm like, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. Takes us to the front of the line. He's like, you guys are going to be the last ones to ride this ride. So we get on the ride, and it's like, there's a couple of people on it and us. And I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever. So we rode the whole thing all over again, and it is amazing. So we walked out of there grinning ear to ear, like,
that's really
cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good
so
stuff.
It was really cool.
Well, we knew you'd be a perfect guest because, like us, you're a big kid and a 6'1" kid, as you've made clear. And so, thank you for joining us, man. It's fun to talk about our experience. It's crazy that we just happen to be on work trips back-to-back times and got to do that and share our stories, and it's really cool. So if you're at all considering, I know late fall, winter is a popular time, so that's why we wanted to do this now, since we just kind of got off of that, and I know a lot of people go there in the winter. Apparently half of our church went. Another family just got back. It was like, what's going on? Something is in the air. But so thanks, man, for coming. You're welcome anytime to come and talk about video games and other geek culture things. I know you like all the Marvel movies, and
super geeky.
You're getting back into. I convinced you, I think, to get back into WWE.
Yeah.
So you've been watching that.
Over the world.
Yeah. Well, he texted me the other day. He's
they
like,
need
what's
to be our
going
next
on?
sponsor. We need to let them know what we're doing for them.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We've gotten like 5 people watching again.
That's huge. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's a 50% increase at this point.
That's awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining us for another episode of From the Middle. I have been Kory Hubble.
And Dylan Hubble.
I've been Candelila.
Paul Heyman.
See you guys.